From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. I craved the strength and certainty of steel. I aspired to the purity of the blessed machine. Your kind cling to your flesh, as if it will not decay and fail you. One day the crude biomass that you call the temple will wither, and you will beg my kind to save you. But I am already saved. For the machine is immortal.
There's nothing that makes me sigh more than cyborgs and androids in cartoons and animes that involve superheroes. Now I know what you're thinking. But Jar, aren't you a robot? Shouldn't you be a fan of cyborgs and androids? Well, as for androids, yes, but as for cyborgs, don't you dare compare me to those disgusting half-breeds. But in all seriousness, I actually don't like them because they often break how the rules of their universe works. Now granted, they're not all like that. Cyborg from Teen Titans and Android 8 are perfectly fine. But if you've seen my video where I power scale the technology of the Dragon Ball universe, then you would know that I have a big problem with Androids 13 through 20, as well as Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. I also don't like the ReAnimen from Invincible, along with several other androids and cyborgs from both Marvel and DC Comics. Let's start off with Androids 16 through 20, because Androids 13 through 15 are non-canon. Frieza, the most powerful man in the universe after being defeated by the legendary Super Saiyan Goku, gets some new cybernetic enhancements, and is immediately killed by a time traveler. This time traveler by the name of Trunks warns Goku about androids that will appear in the future. Now where could these androids be from? I mean, they're more powerful than Frieza after he got cybernetic enhancements. Are they from another universe? And were they worked on by a team of scientists even bigger than the group of scientists who worked on Frieza? Nope, they were only made by one scientist from Earth. But that scientist must have had some super metal to work with, along with the body of a very powerful alien, right? Nope, he just had himself, a doll, 2 orphan kids, and an android modeled after his dead son. He could have used some super material to make them, but it's neither said nor implied.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave! With a bunch of scraps!
He didn't find a whole bunch of Kachi to make these things, and no, their infinite energy source or their ability to absorb ki is never explained. They're just as powerful because, well, the plot says they are. Now Cell, on the other hand, does make a lot more sense. I mean, after all, he's made up of all the, cells of the greatest heroes and villains this world has ever seen. Even as a kid, I was asking myself, why doesn't Frieza's empire have androids? Even if they're only 1% as powerful as the androids Dr. Gero created, they would still be more powerful than Captain Ginyu. Also in the Dragon Ball verse, Earth is comparatively primitive to other planets, so there has to be plenty of scientists smarter than Dr. Gero. You would think in a universe full of planet busters, some scientists would be like, hey, let's make some planet busters of our own. Whether it's to fight for Frieza or against Frieza, the androids just completely break how this verse works. But then, thanks to the Buu Saga and Dragon Ball Super, characters became so powerful that the androids just seemed like nothing. Until we got to the Tournament of Power. We find out that Android 17 and 18, who are actually cyborgs by the way, can get stronger through training just like the Z Fighters. Android 17 is on the same level as a Super Saiyan Blue. He's basically the 4th strongest member on the team. If I was in Goku's shoes, I would have been like, you were getting stronger this whole time? Then where were you when Buu attacked? Or when Golden Frieza showed up? And before you say, oh come on Jar, he started training after Golden Frieza showed up, then that's even worse! He got that strong in such a short amount of time? Granted, it's not just 17 and 18 who got way more powerful than they should ever be, because Roshi, Tien, and Krillin are also fighting alongside Super Saiyan gods. But then we also have Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, 2 androids who were not created by Dr. Gero, but some other scientist on Earth, and they are strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Ultra Instinct Goku and Ultra Ego Vegeta. They are stronger than some of the strongest fighters from other universes. But then again, Dragon Ball has never exactly been the most complex, well thought out story ever made. So let's move on to the ReAnimen from Invincible. ReAnimen, also known as zombie cyborgs, were created by Dr. Sinclair, who's a college professor. Yep, he's not a world-renowned scientist, he's just a college professor. I guess one day he just decided to take time out of his busy schedule of abusing his authority to create cyborgs that can go toe-to-toe with Viltrumites. Viltrumites are the strongest race in the galaxy, and some guy with the budget of a college professor was able to make cyborgs that could take them on. Now, if you've seen my video where I go over an all-out war between the Saiyans and the Viltrumites, then you would know that Viltrumites are not only stronger and faster than humans, but they live a lot longer, and there used to be over 10 quadrillion of them. Every single Viltrumite had more time than Dr. Sinclair, and they had a much better budget and much better technology at their disposal. Yet despite having the goal of trying to conquer the galaxy, none of them made super powerful cyborgs. The first one we see is evenly matched with Invincible. It only ends because he decided to KYS because, well, he discovered that he looked like Michael Jackson. Later on, a small group of them nearly kill Mark. Just 3 upgraded ReAnimen managed to slow down Omni-Man, one of the strongest Viltrumites. There's also that one cyborg supervillain with a cannon arm, but he gets his ass kicked a lot. Imagine if the Flaxens just got one of these ReAnimen and reverse engineered the tech.
You don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to oh dear god! That's a lot of ReAnimen. Never mind, it is yours to conquer.
You would think that at least a few of the alien planets with better technology than Earth would eventually figure out how to create their own version of ReAnimen. I'm not saying they would be able to stop the Viltrumites, but they would greatly slow down their rate of expansion. Hell, the coalition of planets really should have reverse engineered this tech for their own army.
Alan, you must go to Earth.
Oh golly, is it for Mark? Is he the key to victory?
No, of course not. It's Dr. Sinclair.
But now let's move on to Marvel. The most popular android from that series is Ultron. In the MCU, he was created by Tony Stark, but in the comics, he was created by Hank Pym. But let's go over his MCU counterpart first. Now, to be fair, he is created by the greatest scientist on Earth, and he's also made out of vibranium, which is a super metal. He's also not alone. He has an entire army of robots backing him. So, what's the problem? Well, he invents his own robot that can become intangible, and it can also pick up Thor's hammer. As far as I'm aware, in the entire MCU, no alien race has invented a piece of technology that can become intangible. And Thor, despite being a god who has existed for thousands of years, struggles to fight against one android created on Earth. And in Marvel What If, Ultron manages to get Vision's body. He one-shots Thanos, takes the Infinity Stones for himself, takes over the universe, and then tries to take over the entire multiverse.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
And as for his comic book version, oh, sweet mecha Jesus, that deserves its own video. He just keeps upgrading himself more and more. He becomes an entire planet, takes over Asgard, and so much more. Pretty impressive for a guy who was built on a primitive planet. And lastly, we have Amazo from DC. He just looks at you and he gets your powers. What's his origin? Well, one scientist from Earth decides to make him one day. And I guess he just had to make one line of code that said, copy anything you see. Can Brainiac, the smartest android in the universe, with an intellect level of 11, do something like this? No, he cannot. And before you ask, no, Amazo isn't made out of any super metal, at least as far as I'm aware. And as for Amazo from DCAU, well, that's a video for another time. In fact, it's the next video after this one. But the point of my video is this: whether it's Dragon Ball, Marvel, DC, or even Earth is a primitive planet. If there are more advanced alien races like the Kryptonians, the Skrull, the Tuffles, the Flaxens, or whatever else you can think of, then they should also have cyborgs and androids that are way more powerful than the ones on Earth. If you want the ones from Earth to be the most powerful in the universe, then at least have them be made out of some kind of super metal, or have them run off of some super ancient magic crystals or something. Just having them be this powerful because, well, one scientist from Earth was really smart doesn't make any logical sense at all, and it's bad writing. I just made a video on how absolutely broken Mecha Cooler is. Goku and Vegeta only managed to beat them because of pure plot convenience. Yep, you heard me right, I said them, because there are 10 billion Mecha Coolers for some reason. Anyways, please check out my video about Gary Stews from Isekai Animes on my main channel. I'm really trying to break even on that video, guys, and I'm so close. Anyways, I'll see y'all next time.